It was 27th October 1977. Billy Milligan was accused of rape by one of his victims and he was arrested. On further investigation, it was found that there were 3 more rape victims in the same Ohio State University campus, and all the crimes started pointing towards Billy Milligan: kidnapping, armed robbery, and rape. But he refused all the charges. The investigating officer stated, "We have found solid evidence against Billy, even his fingerprints on one of the victim's car." But still, Billy was denying the charges. The officer also stated that during the interrogations, he felt like he was speaking to different persons at different times. Billy was having more than 24 different personalities inside him. There have been few other multiple personality cases in the history even before Billy. But why was Billy Milligan's case very important? But why did this case attract a lot of interest all around? What really happened? Let's see. Before getting any further, don't forget to subscribe to DNA for more interesting videos like this. Billy Milligan was born in 1955. Billy lost his father when he was just 4. After that, he was with his mother and his stepfather. According to the psychiatric reports based on Billy's memory, his stepfather repeatedly tortured, abused, raped, and even buried him alive and hanged him by his toes and fingers. Psychiatrists examining Billy believed that this could have been a trigger for different personalities to develop inside Billy. When the trial started, the prosecutors subjected Billy to medical examination. The prosecutors and Billy's defense attorneys, after the observations, this is what they said: "We saw multiple personalities. His speech pattern was different, his accents were different, he even sat different ways in the chair." Initially, when Billy was observed to have multiple personalities, a lot of people refused to accept this and started calling it a ploy. The case took a major twist that even the newspapers and other media, who started covering this just as any other criminal case, later turned out to be more interested on Billy Milligan's psyche than the original crimes. During the hearings, Billy's defense attorneys did not refuse the charges. Instead, they said it was done by someone else using Billy Milligan's body. To support this argument, psychiatrist testimony stated that Billy had been asleep for most of the last 7 years and the crimes were actually committed by 2 other personalities who sometimes take over and use his body. Between Jan 31 and Feb 16 of 1978, Billy was examined 7 times. It was the first time that Milligan's personalities first emerged. When he was questioned, he answered, "Billy is asleep. I'm David." Based on these sessions, on March 14th, Judge Flowers found Milligan not competent to stand trial. So he ordered Dr. George Harding, medical director of Harding Hospital in Worthington, to study Milligan and understand him. Before Billy's crimes covered the news, there were several tests taken to analyze Billy's mental condition. During the observations, psychiatrists mentioned that Billy was just an empty shell compared to his alter personalities. But still, Billy's IQ was 150. But the psychiatrists registered it as 129, and Arthur, one of Bill's most intellectual personality, was not even tested. There was a lot of suspense, questions that needed answers in this case. Different personalities were responsible for different doings, so the psychiatrists attempted to fuse all the characters of Billy into one single personality. But only then they knew that Billy had already fused all his personalities into one and called him the teacher, who knew everything about every single personality. On October 1978, after a series of hearings, a lot of questions had answers. According to Billy's personalities, all the rapes were committed by his personality, Adelina, a curious lesbian. Rajan, who was another personality, would do the robbery, and Arthur would usually pay the bills. But however, one of the victims pointed that Milligan did not show any personality changes, nor he had any accent during the rape. It was also stated that Milligan did mention his name as Phil, and he was Jewish in a couple of occasions during the crimes. Billy's birth father was actually Jewish. There were a lot of statements from the victims which were completely different from each other, which made the case even more complex. Lots of names, lots of incidents. The trial went on for months. The defense side weren't able to produce records supporting Bill's stepfather's physical abuse, but however, his school teachers confirmed that he was an odd kid. Also, the defense attorney produced a written test that Bill had taken when he was in school, which stated, "I can't do anything. My nerves are bad. I hate lots of people." These were the words. After hearing out all the arguments, Milligan was sent to psychiatric hospitals for further treatments, mentioning that Billy was not involved in any of these crimes and his other 9 alter personalities were the ones responsible. Later, during repeated sessions, it was found that Billy had 24 different personalities. Every time when a personality emerges, the others go to sleep. So most of the time, Billy was asleep. Daniel Keyes, who was the author of the book The Minds of Billy Milligan, observed Billy for several sessions and made Billy even draw a picture of some of his major personalities. Each of his personalities had different outlooks, different ages, even different genders. Some of his personalities were Danny, a 14-year-old boy who was afraid of people; Tommy, a 16-year-old escape artist; Arthur, a 22-year-old Englishman who was an expert in medicine; Rajan, a Yugoslavian, the protector of all the other personalities; Adeline, a 19-year-old lesbian girl; Alan, an 18-year-old; Christine, a 3-year-old kid; Kevin, a drug dealer and a robber; David, the keeper of all paints. Billy Milligan was later transferred to different hospitals and psychiatric centers. Milligan was released of all these charges and was to be reported every 2 years thereafter. In 1988, he was released from Ohio mental hospitals after 11 years. It was the first case in the history to use multiple personality disorder to get freed of all the crime charges against an accused. He was also released from all supervision 3 years later in 1991. In 1992, he moved to California to work on a movie about his life, James Cameron to direct and Leonardo DiCaprio to lead in it, but it was never made. After that, he was never visible to the public's eye. Cole, his doctor, Daniel Keyes, his author, and even his mother and sister tried to find him, but they couldn't find him or speak to him. His mother even stated that she hasn't spoke to her son for almost 15 years. On December 12, 2014, Billy Milligan died out of cancer in a nursing home. Billy Milligan's case was a curious one that gave a lot of answers on multiple personality disorder, which is now known as Dissociative Identity Disorder. But even today, there is no cure for this disorder.